We started in 2019, then COVID happened, and then 3 months, no money. If something like that happens, you have to immediately understand how the market is shifting. And also when Ukraine happened and inflation and economic crisis around the world, then we realized we lost all our startup clients. You cannot take anything for granted.
Welcome back to the 7-Figure Business Podcast, where we dive deep into the real stories of entrepreneurs and leaders who are shaping industries and making a lasting impact. I'm your host, Linh Podetti, entrepreneur, founder, and proud member of Entrepreneurs Organization, EO, a global network of over 19,000 business founders committed to growth, learning, and connection. In this episode, I sit down with Carsten Ley, a seasoned consultant, entrepreneur, and OKR expert who has spent over a decade driving transformation and innovation across Southeast Asia. Carsten opens up about his journey from corporate life to building his own consulting practice and how objectives and key results, OKRs, can be used to align business strategy and accelerate growth. We also dive into the cultural nuances of doing business in Vietnam, the lessons learned during COVID, and Carsten's passion for teaching and mentoring the next generation. From adaptability and resilience to purpose and legacy, this conversation is packed with timeless insights for any entrepreneur navigating change. Please join me in welcoming Carsten Ley. Welcome to the show, Carsten. So great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, let's talk a little bit about your current business and what you're up to before we dive deeper into your journey on entrepreneurship. So tell me a little bit about your current projects.
Yeah, so we run since 6 years a strategy, goal setting and project management consulting company out of Singapore and Vietnam. We are around 10 consultants, mainly serving the Southeast Asia market with startup clients, tech clients at the beginning, but lately also a lot of corporate and government clients. And I will speak later about it because the market shifted completely on that, right? So we are running that. We also have around 20 freelance consultants. If anybody is interested to cooperate with us, we're always happy about new skill sets here. During COVID and still we also have some online consultant with the US, Europe. We also had 2-3 clients in Australia, like the very famous Mr. David Fogarty from the Oodie, right? This very cool surfer dude was also one of our clients. So, we are pretty flexible on that. So what we try to do with the clients, we help them to bring their strategy on the road, to bring it into goals, try to measure them, try to do follow-ups with the team, try to put them into projects with real results and really to create that people work together in teams. So it's more about an alignment consulting, more on working together and achieving results. That's what we do.
So when you mentioned you help startup, they would already still have to have a big team and I guess a lot of funding, and that's why they need consultants to help that, or?
I mean, first, big team, it's very funny, right? Startups normally start 5, 10, 15 people. We had clients with 5, 10, 15 people. We even did strategy, maybe more North Star and goal setting coaching with startup founders 1-to-1. So we also have some smaller coaching rates where you can book us hourly. And not all our consultants are sitting in Singapore. We also have some of us sitting in Vietnam and Thailand. So you can imagine that our rates are not so crazy extreme, right? But the thing is, what we can help startups, if you have 10, 15 people, right? And normally it's very messy and it depends on the founder. And if the founder has a bad day or the founder is one day sick, the whole system breaks down. And that's what a lot of founders don't understand, because lately when you get more than 10 or 20 people, you have to establish a little bit of system, how people work. It cannot all depend on one person, right? And of course, we are not advising to make a big hierarchy with a lot of levels with team leader and sub-team leader. You don't need that in startups. But what we do is we help them every 3 months to define goals and then track these goals in a system. So if the startup founder is not there or they're on one of the pitches, they're somewhere, still the team knows against which goals it can work to and how it can report to. So we have a very, let's say, simple and easy methodology, which already works for startups too, that they get organized around goals and achievements. And that's all they need, goals, achievements, and tasks. right? So, and then you can use that to scale up, let's say until 50, 60 people. And then maybe you need an organization structure. So we have already any kind of startups, as clients. Yeah.
How did a client like Oodie, David, find a company like yours? And what was his problem that he was like, okay, well, actually I've decided to work with Carsten and his company for this?
I mean, it was 2021, which was a very wild consulting period because it was COVID. So everybody was just looking online, and it didn't matter anymore that you were a consultant in the same company. So he came across one of our profiles. I think we also have profiles in very simple pages like Fiverr. I don't know if you know Fiverr. It's like a freelance thing. Some people think it's only a $10, $15 an hour thing for graphic consultants, but you can also pitch on Fiverr higher priced things, coachings, right? Not too high priced. We are in a $80, $90 range, but it's doable for startups, right? And he found us there as OKR coaches, right? And he put some hours through the system, and later it went a little bit in implementation. So he approached us and says, I want to step back a little bit from the Oodie. I need a system and I want to try OKRs. Can you coach me personally how to start OKRs? So David and we were writing together some of the OKRs for his teams, and later we brought his to his teams. Yeah. So it was an OKR coaching we did with him. Yeah.
Love it. Okay. Well, for those who don't know exactly what OKR is, and can you explain what the acronym is, what does it actually really mean, and how do you normally help clients to establish it and follow it?
Yeah, OKR stands for Objective and Key Results, which is you have to define a goal for the next 3 months, and every goal is connected to measurements, which are key results. They're a little bit similar like KPIs. The only difference is that we want to work together against the objective. So different people have the same objective and maybe different key results below the objective. The problem in KPIs, they're always very siloed, and they are just numbers, and they don't tell you why you have to do that. So in OKR, it's a little bit more challenging for the leadership. They have to tell you why you have to reach certain numbers. That's the objective. And then you and your buddies or teammates have KRs together. So for example, if we want to expand to a new market, right? Of course, sales, marketing, even legal, they have to work together. So we have the objective, launch a new market or have a footprint in a new market the next 3 months. So we have key results for sales, for legal, for marketing below, and you are responsible to reach that objective by a percentage. So you cannot just say, oh, I'm marketing, I don't care what legal does. I'm sales, I don't care what marketing does. So you have to check constantly on a weekly or bi-weekly basis with the other teams how they are doing, if they need your help and so on. This is the alignment thing. So OKRs, it's a very nice methodology to set goals which are not siloed in teams, like a lot of corporations have a big problem on that. And in startups, you don't need that. You don't want to silo anything, right? You just want the right people working for the right jobs. Yeah. And that's what we do in OKR. So we have an objective. We want to expand to a new market. Who can help the next 3 months to work against this objective? And these people get key results and actions. Easy. Yeah. Okay.
And I guess you act almost like an accountability partner for them as well, right? Because if they kind of try to do it themselves, doesn't matter if they really miss it. Does that also help having you there to make sure that things are actually getting, goals are being achieved and tracking the progress?
Yeah. What we help is first to set it up, because there's a little bit of methodology, how to write a good objective, how to write good key results, right? Key results should be very on the outcome. So you cannot say as marketing, my key result is I run 10 ads. That's an action. A key result in OKR methodology is how much leads or how much sales do you get through these ads? So we shift a little bit the mindset of people. That's the beginning when we set up, because a lot of people, they always want to measure their work. Like developers, we have a lot of tech developers, and they say, I write in 2 weeks 500 line of code. And we say in OKR, yeah, that's nice to have, but what do you achieve with the 500 line of codes? I mean, do you and your teammates together got a new feature out? Does it help the client? Does the client like it? Right? So that's why it's called key results, because we want to focus more on measuring the results. So the first thing we do as coaches and as consultants, we help clients to really set it up correctly, that they are very result focused. The second thing, we have weekly, bi-weekly calls. So it's a 3 months engagement first. So we have weekly or bi-weekly calls, depends on the speed of the client, where we track in an OKR tool how they are doing. So if you say you run an ad and you say you will have every month 50 new clients. So we will check that after 2 weeks, you have 25 new clients. And if you don't have 25 new clients, of course, you have to tell in this alignment call where everybody is in, why you are behind. Where do you need help from others? Are there any issues with the markets, right? So we do this tracking calls for clients. Later, after maybe 2 or 3 quarters where we model that for the clients, we can then hand over. We have a program which is called OKR Champion. It's an internal facilitator. We are not very happy if the boss always try to be the one who, that's very top-down company, like very old style. If the boss is running around and tracks everybody. So it's always better in more agile companies and startups to have a facilitator, which we call OKR Champion. So we don't want like staying with a client for years and do the job. We are happy to hand over after 2-3 cycles when the client is ready.
Yeah. Like they say, don't give them the fish, teach them how to fish so that they can feed
yes.
fish whenever they like.
Yes. And we wanna have an OKR champion who is like a little bit the sailor which helps them to fish, right?
Yeah, I love it. So how did you get into this line of work? Can you go back a little bit about, I guess, growing up? Did you always want to be in business? And then how did you get into business before you got into what you're doing now?
I mean, growing up in a small town in Germany, my parents wanted me to do, not even to do high school. They wanted me to do an apprenticeship, which is something in Germany you can do to study a job. But I still did high school. And then I did an apprenticeship. I didn't study because nobody in my family ever studied before. I did a bank apprenticeship and I worked the first 4 years of my career in a bank. Yeah, and I got a little bit bored. It was like a teller job, right? I got a little bored with this bank teller job and then I went studying. I studied international business, which my parents were very shocked about it because they really want me to settle early down and have a stable job. So I went studying international business from 24 to 28, a little bit late. And during that time,
too.
Sure.
I studied international business at RMIT.
Okay.
We got the same degree.
Sure. Yeah. So I studied international business, and during that time, I also studied in the UK and I made some internships in Mexico, because one thing I really wanted from an early age, I wanted to get out into the world. I was very interested culturally, politically. I didn't dare to make any career like in journalism or history, because I mean, a lot of people tell you always it's not very good paid. So, and also my parents pushed me to say, go into business, right? Don't do something crazy like journalism and maybe nowadays it's good, but like 20, 30 years ago, it was a little bit dangerous to study that, right? So Business was the thing, of course, to go to make money. It's what everybody says. And then after my business degree, I stayed in Mexico. I did some minor consulting in Mexico. And then I came back to Germany. I was 1 year a project coordinator for Citibank, and I worked 4 years for Deloitte Consulting. That's where I really got the skills about consulting. So I was 4 years in Deloitte, mainly like in change management consulting, ERP, IT projects, PMO, project management roles all over Europe. So that was a very good foundation. It's also a very good foundation for our business because it helps me to understand how to find consulting clients and how to write proposal. That's a very good school if you go through one of the big ones, right? And then after that, when I when I want 4 years, Deloitte was a lot because we were a lot on the road. So I decided to move to Southeast Asia. I found a job as a project manager in Vietnam. So I was responsible for PMO for a bank in Vietnam. And then after 3-4 years, Lazada came along, one of the big e-commerce players in Southeast Asia, with a very good offer. And they said, hey, can you come over from the bank? We need you at Lazada. And I was in charge end-to-end customer experience. Yeah, I mean, also very project driven to improve from order until delivery and warehouse and customer. All the customer experience. And after that, that was a 2-year startup stint in Lazada, which also gave me a little bit of background in startups, right? After that, me and my partners, we opened up OKR Asia and Asia PMO as consulting companies. That's a little bit of foundation. And with OKRs, I tell you how we came to, because we did at the beginning much more project management and customer experience consulting, right? As our maybe main competence. But then I realized that in Lazada, we did OKRs. I, as a manager, as a VP, I had to do OKRs in Lazada. And at that time, because Lazada was a startup, they just dumped it on us. So from one day to another, they told us, you have to rewrite your KPIs into OKRs. And nobody was happy about it because we didn't understand how, we didn't understand why. It was just a top-down thing. And then I realized, maybe it could be a market to explain customers how to do it better than in my previous job, right? How to help managers, leaders, and teams to switch more smoothly from KPIs to OKRs or what they had before. That was a little bit the thing, right? And then we got a lot of requests about OKR. So it's also a pretty hot topic, honestly. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what was it like starting a business though? So obviously as a consultant, you're working for these big companies, good pay, everything's stable. And you also know what to do as a job. And venturing into business, was it smooth or was it challenging getting into your own business, doing what you were already doing?
I mean, me and my partners, we had a little bit of smooth transition because already in the last stages when we did business roles, we already gave training and consultings at the same time, mainly after hours and the weekends. So, it was not that we stopped the job and had to look for consulting clients. We had that already a little bit running. So I think that's also an advice I give to a lot of people, right? Don't just quit your job and start your business. If you have time on the weekends or if you have time in the evening, why don't you use this time first and build a little bit and reach out to people and still keep your job for a while? Yeah, because you will not find immediate clients. The second advantage we had was my partner, he used to work for ANZ and also other banks, right? And also big corporations, around Southeast Asia. He's Australian. And with me, with Lazada, Home Credit, Deloitte, we had already a very big network of people. Especially Lazada helped me. And now I will tell you a joke because a lot of people are like, don't work for a hire and fire company with a little bit of toxic environment where people only stay 6 to 8 months. And I said, no, please work for a hire and fire company where people only stay 6 to 8 months. Because if you make it like me for 2 years, you build an amazing network. You understand that? Yeah. So in a company where people come and go all the time, you can build an amazing network. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. You understand that? Yeah. That's something people are always, don't go to crazy startups where they hire and fire and it's a difficult environment. Yeah. It was a little bit difficult and you have to fight the way through. And when sometimes you have to ignore things. Yes. But I met so many people and I know so many ex-Lazadians who of course have good jobs around Southeast Asia. Right, or around the world, and I got a lot of first consulting projects out of my ex-Lazada network, and my partner also got a lot of consulting project out of his previous network.
Yeah. Oh, such a great perspective, right? I never thought of it that way. do any of them also turn into consultants for yourself? And I'd love to hear how you were able to grow a consulting business. Consulting itself, it's a very hard, I'm in recruitment. I hire, I guess, more administrative and marketing roles, which is a lot more easier. But consulting talent, that's a different ball game. So tell me more about how you scale your business with good, amazing people.
Yeah, I mean, we always test people as freelancers first, right? I mean, we love people who are still in their jobs, right? Or maybe they can downsize their jobs. A lot of people nowadays also have online jobs where they only work 20, 30 hours, right? Not really 40 hours anymore. And in our consulting concept, we are not going full day and full time with clients. That was something I learned in Deloitte. In Deloitte, as a junior consultant, I stayed like 6 months at a client's office. And you are not always busy. I mean, let's be very honest. You are not always busy. You sit there Monday to Friday. The client pays a lot of money to have you 5 days in the office, but you are not always busy. So what we do differently is we tell the client now with strategy and OKRs, with project management the same, we come in for a 1-day training and a 1-day workshop where we show you the concepts, the methodologies, and where we set it up with you. So we set up with you the objective and key results. We set up with you the strategy. We brainstorm together how to run projects. And then we have weekly calls where we follow up with you, but your internal staff will do it. Yeah. We will not do it. Yeah. So we don't need consultants who are on full-time projects with us. And coming back to your question, sorry that I go a little bit far. Coming back to your questions. So if we look for new talent, at the moment we look for somebody in performance management. We need somebody who has maybe half day, 1 day a week time to help us on certain project with some calls, with the clients as an advisor. We don't need anybody full time all the time. And the full-time consultants we have, they are normally managing 3 to 5 projects at the same time. Yeah. So that's the concept. And also from a profile point of view, as you are a recruiter, we look for people with work experience. So without being now a little bit bad to the young generation, but ideally we look at people over 30 because we look around 10 years work experience. And people who are already like in team leader or in management roles, at least one time in team leader or management roles. Yeah, because our topics are very leadership related. So as somebody who never been in the role, it's very hard to do them.
Yeah. So do these consultants eventually love their new job so much, or new business, I guess, and then as they make more money on this side, they eventually quit their job, and you're, I guess, in a way, rescuing them from a corporate job, and then they too kind of get that. Yeah.
Yes, it happened before. I mean, some also say, oh, I want to try that. So some stayed with us 1 or 2 years and then they went back to a corporate job. Because also maybe their family situation, they got more kids, they have to buy a house and stuff like that. I mean, of course, our line of business is a little bit up and down sometimes, right? So there's a risk involved. We are not guaranteeing, full salaries like in Deloitte. I mean, our salaries are project bound, but if it goes well, you can make really good money in a month, right? That's the other side. But of course, people come in and out a little bit, but we already have 3-4 consultants also here in the Vietnamese and Singapore side with the language skills which we need, because my Australian partner and me, of course, we are not serving the local markets on the local languages. They already stay longer with us. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so through the years of business now, could you share, I guess, one memorable challenge that you went through and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I mean, so there were numerous challenges. We started in 2019, right? And like I said, 2019 already we had, during our previous work engagements, we had already clients. We had clients in Myanmar, in Vietnam. We started slowly in Singapore. Singapore takes a while to get into the market. And then COVID happened, right? And then 3 months, no money. I mean, everybody got crazy in the world. Everybody got very cautious. So luckily, of course, we had a little bit buffer. So we could bridge that. And then we realized very fast we have to strengthen our online presence because the world will switch to online consulting. Yeah. And once we did that, after these 3 months were over, so middle of 2020, we suddenly got inquiries from the US, from Europe, from Australia. And we also went on different platforms, right? We have our own web pages, but we went also on these freelance platforms where a lot of my consulting buddies told me that's a waste of time. But we don't believe things. I mean, you don't believe things without trying. So never believe more experienced people before you don't try. I mean, I like mentors. I like coaches. Don't get me wrong. Okay. But a lot of experienced people, maybe they're also a little bit frustrated after a while. They always tell you this works, this doesn't work. Don't believe it. Just try. And it didn't cost us a lot of time and money. We just went on every platform we could see and got our name out, sometimes with a little bit lower teaser rates, right? Like, let's say $50, $60 for coaching. And then later, when we understood the market, we ramped it a little bit up. So you have to be a little bit flexible on the pricing too for trying out. Yeah. And interestingly, it worked pretty well. Right? But the thing is, you cannot put your head into the sand, right? If something like that happens, you have to immediately understand how the market is shifting. And that was online. And online was a big chance because it didn't matter anymore that we sit in Southeast Asia. I mean, it was our problem that we had American clients and we had to get up at 11 at night and do the calls. But if I get $100, $150 an hour, I love to get up at 11 at night. Of course. I mean, so what's the problem, right? I mean, you understand. I mean, so we shifted immediately to a global footprint. And then the next challenge came after COVID 2023. And also when Ukraine happened and inflation and economic crisis around the world, the funding and startup market dried up. And then we realized we lost all our startup clients, right? I mean, normally we do like 6 to 12 months or 3 to 6 months with each client. So our startup projects got shorter, only 3 months. And then we also, through our network and through our online presence, we tried to get more exposed to corporations and to government, right? So it took a while. So we also took a little bit of financial hit in 2023, honestly speaking. It took a while then in 24, 25 to recover. And we mainly recover with big corporations and government clients. Yeah. But you have to be ready for that, right? I mean, the markets are very volatile.
Yeah. And how do you think you've evolved as a entrepreneur or as a leader through these experiences? From what I'm hearing is that sense of being able to pivot really fast. And I guess you have to be resilient, but I guess I would love to hear from your point of view, how you've grown as an entrepreneur, as a person.
Yeah, I mean, first, you cannot take anything for granted. And I love that we do the OKR topic because, I mean, we sell that you can only plan for 3 months ahead, right? So we live this too. Right. So, of course, when we started in 2019, we also tried to make 1 or 2 year plans, right? We had very nice drafted plans, which countries, which companies, where do we go? And it all went bust with COVID immediately. Right. And then during COVID, we made plans with the online presence and it went all bust in the inflation crisis 2023. Right. So I think one of the skills is to be resilient. You are right. To have also some financial buffers. Right. I mean, if things go well in 1 year, don't blow it immediately out on events or on marketing. I think a lot of people do that mistake. Right? They say, oh, it goes well. I want to reinvest, so I pay less taxes. Right? I mean, that's a very founder thinking, I see. But sometimes you also have to hold a little bit money back because it can shift very, very fast. And also the topics, right? Luckily, we do more than one topic. So we are not just the OKR consultant, even if our most famous product at the moment. We do also project management. So we help companies to manage different projects. We do also very basic stuff like project management training. So sometimes in markets like Vietnam or Thailand, which are not so mature on the consulting side, we sell more trainings. So people engage us for a 1 or 2 day training without the consulting. And that's something we actually don't want to do so much because we are very proud to be consultants. We can implement. We are not trainers. So we are not market our company as one of the 1,000 training companies around. But it's also one thing you sometimes have to swallow your pride. So in markets like Vietnam, Philippines, Thailand, we also tell people we are a training company. And if you want to hire us just for a training, it's fine. Right. So don't be so focused on say, oh, I want to be always different. We are proud. We are the implementation guys, right? We want to help you to really get things done to create result. But some companies says we had Ajinomoto, right? A big Japanese company. They said, can you come for a 2 days product management training? So I went there. Very well paid, 25 top managers. And afterwards it was done. They didn't want to have any implementation with us. And we have to accept that, right? So you have to really also adapt a little bit to the market and say, yeah, in one market, I'm more the coach. In one market, I'm more the trainer. In another market, I'm more the consultant. And we have this flexibility and that helps a lot.
Yeah. I just, as you're talking, it reminded me of a teaching that I read from the Bible around life as battles and blessing. It's just part of life. So there's, don't take for granted when things are going good because there will be some battles that you have to fight through and the ability to just accept that. So I feel like, have you been able to accept things as they are a lot more and then I guess go with the flow more?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is a little bit, I'm a German, so I like planning, right? And sometimes my German nature comes through with me. So sometimes I really get frustrated if things doesn't go like planned. But luckily, I live in Vietnam and most of my contacts and also my wife and the family of my wife, they are Vietnamese. So I get a lot of teaching from my Vietnamese family and friends how to be more flexible. I mean, Vietnam is very amazing on adapting, not to worry too much in the future, like we do in Europe a lot, right? To take things like they are and to look always for a solution. Right. I admire my wife, even little things. I mean, I'm a foreigner here and you have to get certificates for me and paperwork. She always goes very positive and say, oh, we try, we do. Right. I already see all the problems sometimes. Right. And the influence living in a, let's say, Southeast Asian culture who is more adaptable. Right. And has maybe a little bit of more positive outlook on life than a European culture like Germany helps me. So I get a lot of teaching here from the local culture. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm very proud to be Vietnamese too. But I wouldn't say all Vietnamese are positive. Like I come from a family, my parents were so negative that I kind of went the opposite. Like I'm going to go against you. Now, what is it like living in Vietnam? Were there some challenges of transitioning, settling in, feeling accepted, or is business more challenging versus where you used to work?
I mean, I work mainly at the moment in Vietnam and Singapore. So I'm almost 2 weeks a month in Singapore because we have the office there and we have a lot of English speaking clients there. Now settling in Vietnam 13 years ago, at the beginning, I mean, you start what they always call an expat, which I don't really like the title because it sounds so arrogant. I always call myself more like an immigrant. But when you come into a company with like 10, 20 foreigners and like 600-700 Vietnamese, you are immediately in the expat level. And that creates a little bit of rift. Right? People respect you. I mean, Vietnamese respect you. They also respect that you come from another country with other skills. They also respect your habits. I don't see Vietnamese people really confronting you or criticizing you at the beginning. So it was not so difficult. But to really get close with Vietnamese colleagues, was a little bit harder at the beginning. And I started to understand after 6-12 months that a culture like Vietnam is a lot about trust. It's not only about performance and knowledge. So you have to win the trust of people, right? And that takes a long time. It's not like an American, Australian buddy culture where after 3 minutes they call you mate. Yeah. I mean, that's Australia, right? But in Southeast Asian cultures and probably Vietnam, it needs time to gain the trust of people. So you have to spend time here. You have to show that you are interested in the culture. I think one of my first tricks was I told my language teacher, let's learn one Vietnamese song. On the next company party, I have to sing one Vietnamese song in the karaoke. And people like that I'm not the dumb foreigner who only sings English songs. It was horrible, I guess, but Vietnamese people, they make a very nice face, even it's horrible. So that helped, yeah. I know that it was horrible. I mean, pronunciation wise and tone wise, yeah. But at least people see that you try, right? That you try to respect the culture. There is one thing which for me strikes out, because I'm at a moment, I'm also lecturing Mondays at RMIT in Vietnam, cross-cultural management. And one example I always give to my students is the lunch break in Vietnam. A lot of companies in Vietnam, more traditional companies, they do office lunch from 12 to 1. And it's always from 12 to 1. Yeah. Now, when you come as a European who has 30 minutes lunch break, who doesn't sleep during lunch and takes his lunch whenever he wants or even eats on the desk, it's a little bit strange, because people exactly at 12 go out, sometimes together, and then they come back around 12:30, 12:40, but the office lights are out because people sleep on their desk another 20 minutes. And you are not supposed to go in the room and switch the light on and work. I mean, you can work if you are not so I can only do half an hour lunch break, so of course I can work. And the worst thing you can do as a foreigner is starting a meeting, for example, at 11:30 or at 1 p.m. That's very dumb as a foreigner. Because if you start a meeting at 11:30, it can overspill over 12, and people have lunch appointments with their friends or even families. So you screw up their lunch, right? And because the lunch is until 1, nobody is ready for a meeting before 1:15. Let's be very honest on that. So putting in the calendar exactly a meeting at 1, people will come late. And it's not the mistake of the people. It's the mistake of you as a foreigner not to understand the culture. So this is a very small example, but I learned that, right? Where you say, okay, this is how it goes into Vietnam. Why do you want to fight it? Right? Maybe I have to learn also to relax 1 hour during lunch, which I never learned. I mean, I cannot. Can you nap? Can you nap during lunch? Did you learn that?
I can't nap. If I sleep, I feel more tired later, but I used to live in Vietnam. I totally understand the whole sleeping in the middle of the day thing. It was just part of life. But and
I respect it, because I think it's also very healthy. So I think it's very good. You know, you have to respect it, right? And then you have to work around instead of breaking the culture, because we are here guests. We have no right to break the culture, honestly. Yeah.
Yes. Now, I know you don't like thinking too far, but if I did ask you, I guess, what's your future? What do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years? What's next for you, Carsten?
Yeah, I mean, I got hit. I just turned 50, right? And that's really an age which hits, right? I just turned 50 in March. Yeah. And like every guy 50, I immediately had to look for a sport challenge. So I did the charity cycling 400 kilometers through Vietnam, because that's what we do, right? You still have to prove that you can do something. The thing is, I personally, after 5-6 years consulting and also having people in place to do the consulting for us, I pivoted the last 2-3 years a little bit more in university teaching. I realized 2 years ago when I started to say, I want to do university teaching, I didn't have a master. So I did, with 49, an online master, an EMBA in Switzerland. A little bit late study again, but I did it, right? So I have now an MBA, and I was admitted first in University of Greenwich, and then in RMIT Vietnam. as a part-time lecturer. And it's also very good because, Mondays and Fridays, we don't have a lot of engagements with our clients because Mondays, they want to do their own stuff and Fridays, a lot of them are already in holidays. Yeah. So I'm teaching at the moment Mondays at RMIT and I love it. Maybe that's also a little bit a giving back part and also the part to stay in touch with a younger generation, because normally I meet people above 30 in these workshops, in these leadership workshops, sometimes team workshops a little bit younger, but I don't meet any people between 18 and 22 anymore. Right. So that gives me a chance to understand the young generation and also giving a little bit back on the university teaching. And I see that the next 10 years as a very good mix between university lecturing. I'm even now thinking, should I do still a PhD or not? That could be could be another step, right? But at the moment, I enjoy that I achieved that the last 2 years, that I pivoted a little bit, like 60-70% consulting, 20-30% university teaching. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love that you're already integrating the things that you would do later in life with your current work now. So it sounds like it's very fulfilling. Now, I'm going to ask you this last question. I know you don't like too deep of a question, but if you were a fly on the wall and, your university students were sitting together talking about you, what do you wish that they would say about you, the impact that you would have left with them through your teaching, through being part of their life?
Having a German teacher, they know that I'm very honest and direct. So if they ask me any questions, I normally don't try to beautify the answer. Right. I had one student, he said, "Oh, I want to go to Germany because people are so nice there." And I said, "Are you sure about that? Are you really sure about that? Don't you think to go better to another country?" And he was a little bit shocked when I said that, but I think this kind of honesty, right? Which, that's one thing. And the other thing, I think that they can hear a little bit some of my experiences. And like I said before, they should not copy my experiences, right? A lot of things worked, a lot of things didn't work the last 30 years. They should really keep this I try myself spirit. That's the same lately with using AI. A lot of students, and maybe we as entrepreneurs or some consultants, as we heard in the news, even use AI blindly. That's very lazy. AI is nice for trying. You can try around if you get very nice answers out of it, but you still have to think for yourself, right? It's all a part of this. I try, I see what I get out. I give myself a time limit. That's very important, right? To say, I just signed up. I wanted to go a little bit into keynote speaking. I signed up for an international speaker forum, cost me some money per month. And after 3 months, I didn't get anything out of it. So I stopped it, right? Personally, it was like, a little bit disappointing, but I told myself I pay it 3 months. I play around with this tool for 3 months. And if nothing comes out, I shift my focus. Yeah. So I think that's what they should learn. The whole world is not set in stone. Go out and try. Give yourself a time limit and then go on. Yes.
Thank you so much, Carsten. I definitely feel the sense of honesty from you, and you're also very funny too. But yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity to learn from you. I'm actually inspired to bring the OKR concept back to the company because we definitely still use KPI. But where do people connect with you online? I know you've got some podcasts. I know you're on LinkedIn, but where else do people find you?
Yeah, LinkedIn, Carsten Ley is a very unique name, easy to find. OKRasia.com is our web page. And then any kind of connection, LinkedIn messaging, even Facebook with my name, I'm happy to open that. No problem. Just connect us. We are on all channels with our brand. Yeah. Happy to be in touch.
Thank you so much, Carsten, for your time today. I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. I'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.